Hey, welcome again if you've seen the previous video. If you haven't, then there's probably a link somewhere out there for it, and it's out there. And the last video was about some of my history in gaining confidence as an artist at a really young stage in my career. I don't want to say a young age, because people are way more confident at age 12 now than I was even at 19. But anyway, that's what that last video was about. So this one is just talking a little bit about mini comics, and I'm going to go into self-publishing. When I was 20, I moved to Seattle, Washington, and almost immediately fell in with a bunch of friendly cartoonists, all of whom are still friends, especially my best friend John Lewis, but others, Dave Lasky, Megan Kelso, Jason Lutz, and some others, and I just want to call out to them. But I began making tiny little things, finally expanding a little bit. My previous ones have been maybe 8 pages. This one is maybe, what, 12 or 16 or something, but still incredibly minimal. But still, excuse me saying I'm out here. Here's a little something. I can't remember if Wadabi or Angry Criminal was the next one. I think it was Wadabi, which I don't have, and I did write a blog post about it, and you can find it elsewhere. But the next one I did was this. It really doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is I just kept working, and I kept just making things and printing them and photocopying them at the local photocopier. And sometimes I wanted to make them a little bit fun. So this is a reprint, so you can't see it, but there's a little spot for belly button lint, and on every copy of this, you got some belly button lint. So I tried to make it special for people. I was really into gift giving, and I know that doesn't sound like a gift you may want, but that's what it was. I used to run at the YMCA a little bit, and I just kept generating this thing in my head over and over again, and then I went home and tried to make it in 24 hours, and I think I made it in 12. It looks like I made it in 10 minutes, but that's because my skill level was pretty low. But again, I have a course called Get Seen and Get Good, and I was at that point more focused on getting seen. I was actually more focused on just producing the work, to be honest. I was interested in drawing this stuff out of me, because that's when I felt most alive, was when these new things came out of me that weren't there yesterday or weren't there a couple of weeks ago. And they existed in the world. They existed in the world of art. They existed in the world of story. They existed with other people's art and story, and it's so much where I wanted to be. The next one would have been, I think, this one maybe, 1993. Orange was the proper color, so let's pull that one. And it was mostly things I started in 1991 and shelved. I couldn't figure out how to finish them, but I got a little bit better by that point, and so I made this little mini comic. And again, I would bring them down to the skate shop, or and I would give them out. Whenever I would meet other cartoonists, I would give them out. And then, of course, back then there was mail order and lots and lots of trading through the mail. So that's what I was excited to do. By about this time, so now we're going to get into self-publishing. By about this time, the Xeric Foundation was up and running, and that was started by Peter Laird of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it was a way to give support to self-publishers, to beginning self-publishers. It was a great, glorious, generous thing that he did, and it helped so many beginning cartoonists. My friend John was awarded one of these grants in 1993, and I think maybe in the next, and Megan Kelso, I think, in the round before that, and maybe Dave Lasky, and I made it my goal to follow in their footsteps and do it by the next round. And so I pitched them what existed mostly at that point in text, in note form and sketch form, and then some finishes. I pitched them this book, and I gave them a budget, and I did some research, and this was self-published in the 90s, so it meant shipping your artwork to North Dakota, or which is where I think it was at the time, and in a giant box that looked like this, and shipping them a bunch of red ruby lith on your cover drawing, on your original cover drawing. There's the original cover drawing, and here is like, okay, I want this color to be a sort of like dark peach. I want this to be blue and red and stuff like that. I'm going to try and make this efficient and not make it all about the ruby lith, so I'll just keep going. And then they send this back to you and say, is that what you want it to look like? And you say, holy S-H-I-T, that's so amazing. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted it to look like. C-M-Y-K. Anyway, and the rest of that box is those files, those pages I sent them. And so you do your best, and you, with the money you can scrape together these days, whether it's Kickstarter or friends and family or pre-orders or whatever. In that case, it was a grant, and I knew I could afford to print 4,000, which was an enormous copy, a number. And to this day, I have no idea where all those copies went. I think I sold 1,000. I think I have a suspicion where they went. I'm sad to say. And then the task of distributing them. Mostly at that point, it was Diamond Comics. There was another distributor called Capital City. I can't remember if there was some of the West Coast distributors at the time, Last Gasp and other places. I can't remember if I went through them, but then there's the manner of like working in their system to get listed in their catalog and fulfill the orders when they come, if you're lucky enough to get listed. I think it's a little harder now. I don't know. But it's also like way easier to find your own path without Diamond Comics, without that distribution system or whatever. Also going to conventions, a big deal. I had 4,000 of these. I gave them away like crazy. And I don't, I probably went in with my friends on a table and we probably sold some, and it was $4. And I don't know, I have no idea how many I sold. Hopefully enough to buy some burritos. I'm going to quickly say that these days I work with big publishers. These are from St. Martin's. I self-publish. I work with smaller publishers. Let's go there. This is Alternative Comics. This is Retrofit Comics. I self-publish. This is a mini comic I did last year. It's one of my favorite things I've ever done. And this is digitally printed from Lulu. All of these are available to you via one way or another. For that matter, here's one. Only one copy exists. It's run off a Xerox machine, and I've never figured out how to get it printed. More about that in a bit. I'll sign off for now and go in the next video a little more into options available to you, self-publishing, smaller publishers, larger publishers, things like that. Thanks.